All right, everybody. Today is a lesson on sum and difference, angle, identities, and formulas. You are going to like today. Today is going to be a little bit easier. You do need your unit circle, so make sure you have that available. I have mine on my phone because I'm not as cool as Mr. Belk, but I got it right here. I can just pull it up. It's not that hard. I do appreciate Mr. Belk. Shout out to my YouTube channel, like and subscribe. And for all those who like and subscribe, you get a virtual mint. Anyway, remember, you can pause this video at any time. I have already pre-written all the identities. So once you see these formulas, pause it, write it down, and then you can follow along with the examples afterwards. Got 3 examples to do today. So these are what we call sum and difference angle identities. Okay? These two, this one's your cosine, this one's your sine. They look complicated. They are not complicated. They're actually quite simple. But I want you to notice something in the first one. The cosine of A plus or minus B is equal to cosine A times cosine B minus plus. Did you notice that? It went from plus minus to minus plus. What does that mean? Of sine A sine B, okay? What that means is, and you're going to find out when we do our first example, if I want to find the cosine of 105, that's not on my unit circle. So I have to think of 2 numbers that I can either add or subtract to 105 that are on the unit circle. If I add 2 numbers together to make 105, then I would use a minus here. If I subtract to make 105, then I would use a plus. That's what that means. And I'll show you an example of how we do that. If it's sine of A plus or minus B, then your formula is sine A cosine B. And then whatever this symbol is here, if it's a plus, it stays plus. If it's a minus, it goes to minus. Cosine A sine B. So let me do an example so you can understand what we're doing today. You have to find the exact value of cosine 75. Exact value means no decimals. Well, that's a pain because my unit circle does not have a 75. That is a bummer. But I could think of 2 numbers that make 75. I mean, obviously 60 and 15. 15 is not on my unit circle. How about 30 and 45? If instead I write the cosine of 30 plus 45, wouldn't that together make 75? So I'm going to let this be my A and this be my B. By the way, I could have reversed those and would have been fine. We would have get the same exact thing. So let's just follow the formula. If this is my A and this is my B. So following that first formula. So I want to write cosine A, so cosine 30, cosine B, cosine 45, minus plus. What does that mean? If this is a plus, then the sign in the middle is now going to be minus. That's all that means. You just switch it. If this was a minus, that'd be a plus. Then write sine of your A, which is 30, and sine of your B, which is 45. Now, you should have memorized it, but let's get out our handy dandy unit circle here, okay? And if I go to 30 degrees, my cosine is root 3 over 2. My cosine at 45 degrees is root 2 over 2. Minus my sine at 30 degrees is 1/2. And my sine at 45 is root 2 over 2. And now it's just as simple as putting together a fraction. What do you do when you multiply fractions? You multiply the tops and you multiply the bottoms. Square root of 3 times square root of 2 is square root of 6. 2 times 2, 4. This one, 1 times square root of 2 is square root of 2. 2 times 2 is 4. You're going to subtract them. Are you allowed to subtract square roots? No, not unless they're the same square root. So all you actually have to do is combine this to be one fraction. Since they have the same denominator, put them both over 4 and write square root 6 minus square root of 2. That is the exact value of cosine 75 degrees. See, it wasn't that bad. It's just following a formula. Easy peasy. Let's try another one. Find the exact value of sine of negative 210. And again, there are so many different ways of doing this. Whatever you can think of to make 210 in your head, several ways. I'm just going to choose two off the top of my head. I know that a negative 180 and a negative 30 make 210. So I'm going to rewrite it as sine of negative 180 plus negative 30. If you had instead written it as the sine of negative 180 minus 30, I'm going to show you how that's a little bit different than this one up here. Okay, so bear with me on this. Let's do this one real quick. This is A, this is B. Follow your formula from above. So let's see right here, sine of A plus or minus B is sine A cosine B. So sine of negative 180 cosine of negative 30. And then if this is a plus, this right here stays plus. And then you do cosine sine. So cosine of A, negative 180, cosine of A sine B, sine of negative 30. Okay, now remember you're working with negatives. So we want to go the opposite direction on our unit circle. So let's go to my unit circle. Negative 180, this would be negative 90. This would still be negative 180. So the sine at negative 180 is 0. Well, then it doesn't really matter what cosine of 30 is. This whole thing is 0. Plus, the cosine at negative 180 is negative 1. The sine at negative 30, remember, it's negative 30, we're going this way. We're going clockwise. So sine at negative 30 would be negative 1/2. So negative 1 times negative 1/2 is 1/2. That's your answer. Could you have just done this on your unit circle? Yeah, look, 210. You could have gone negative 210 right here. And if that happens on homework tonight, you are more than able to go on your unit circle. You're like, I know how to find sine of negative 210. Just wanted to show you that the formula still works. But let's do it this way real quick. If you're using the minus, then your A is negative 180, but your B is not negative. Your B is positive because the sign in the middle is a minus. So what that means is you would have the sine of negative 180 times the cosine of positive 30. And then you'd put the minus here. And then you'd write cosine negative 180 times sine of positive 30. So notice these two went positive. I like to do it this way. I'll be honest with you. It saves me from making a mistake. I don't really try to do it with a minus. But you'll get the same answer. This will be 0. Cosine at negative 180 is negative 1. And sine of 30 is 1/2. But then notice you have the minus sign right here. So you're minusing a negative 1 times 1/2. You would end up with 1/2 again. All right. One more formula. These are the identities for tan. And you will not have this on homework tonight, but you will have it on homework tomorrow night. So, and it's very easy. I actually think I'm doing one of the homework problems from tomorrow night. So yay me and yay you. Tan of A plus B would be tan of A plus tan B divided by 1 minus tan A tan B. And then notice for tan A minus B, you would minus on top, plus on top. So pretty simple. Write those down, pause, and then we're going to do this problem. So find the exact value of tan of a 8 pi over 9 minus pi over 18 divided by 1 plus tan of 8 pi over 9 tan pi over 18. So looks like if it's minus on top, they're using the minus formula, okay? So then what's my A and what's my B? Well, according to the formula, tan of A, that must be A. Minus tan B, that must be B. So this whole thing right here can actually just be rewritten as tan of A minus B, or tan of 8 pi over 9 minus pi over 18. That's your A, right? That's your B. That whole thing is the same as that. So let's clean this up. We need to find a common denominator, which would be 18. And so I'd multiply by 2. That would be 16 pi minus pi. So this is the tan of 15 pi over 18. And what does that simplify to? That simplifies to 5 pi over 6. So let's find out what the tan of 5 pi over 6 is. Let's go to 5 pi over 6. Here's my 5 pi over 6. Okay. Tan, remember, is your sine divided by your cosine. So it would be 1/2 divided by negative root 3 over 2. Same, change, flip. These cancel. Oh, I'm going to pull this up for a minute. And then you would get 1 over negative root 3. And then obviously rationalize that would be negative root 3 over 3. That is the exact answer. So pretty simple. Try your homework tonight, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.